Hi, welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. And as you can see, I'm at the Command Post Center today. And the reason for that is simple. We have a packed house today. And not just a packed house, but a packed house where we're going to learn a very interesting story of opportunity, struggle, addiction, lost family, reuniting family, and more importantly, how one person changed somebody's life. Today on the show, I'd like to welcome Charlo Jr. and Sr. along with Tanisha. How you guys doing today?
Good.
You know what, Charlo Sr., when you was telling me this story, it came from a mutual friend, Darlene. What's her last name? Is it Whitley?
Watley.
Watley
Yes.
from Texas. And she was like, hey, Andre, you really got to have this guy on this show. And his story is so impactful. And it just goes to show you this. Everybody's only a thread away from being connected to some degree. And she's all the way in Texas, and you're here, and you still left a lasting impression on her. Before we get started, Mr. Senior, tell us a little bit about you before we get into your story.
Well, today I am a pastor. Just celebrated my third year of pastoralship at British St. James, MBC. I'm also continuing to be a licensed addiction counselor. Married. 26th of this month will be 24 years.
Congratulations on that.
Yes. Grandfather and a father.
When you say addiction, that's such a widespread when we're talking about that because addiction comes in all shapes and sizes. But when you talk about addiction, when did addiction first show its face with you?
Well, as a young kid, we was raised, and my mom, her brothers and cousins used to get together. Even when we were little children, they used to have socials back then, back in the '60s, even the late '60s. And at that time, her brothers used to give us alcohol, little sips of beer, and see us spin around in circles, and they thought it was the funnest thing. What they didn't understand at that time is that they were alcoholics as well. And
Right.
so wasn't much known about alcoholism, especially in African American culture. It was just something that we did. And so as I grew and continued to grow up and early into my teenage years, I realized that I had a taste for alcohol that stemmed way back then.
Wow. Did you, when you recognized you had a stem for this, how close was you with your family? Did your family even know that this was happening to you, or were they aware of it? And when you noticed something different, were you able to share it with your family members?
Well, actually, the reality of it is it was very prevalent in my family. Uh, Alcohol was just a thing, and alcoholics was birthed through our families. All the friends were connected. Everyone did the same thing. It was like a community. And so when you're doing things that everyone else is doing, it appears to be normal because no one knows any difference behind it. It wasn't until later on in my life that it became a problem.
When you say later on in your life, take the viewers down that and roughly around what age were you and what was your life like?
Well, actually, I met the my current wife in 1977. She was 16 and I was 17 years old. In '79, my oldest daughter, was born. In '83, she was pregnant with Charlo Jr., who's here with us. And at that moment, she made a decision that she was no longer going to be a part of my life due to my alcoholism. And she left me with the support of my mother, who loved her dearly. My mother had gotten her life together. She was no longer drinking. And so when she left me, I really went down that rabbit hole with alcohol. And I invited snorting cocaine. I was introduced to that. When I got introduced to that, it was something I found out that relieved all the hurt and the pain that I had from the love of my life leaving me at that particular time. And going further down that road, in my 20s, I was introduced to crack cocaine.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
From who? Did you get introduced from? This is a two-part question. Did you get introduced to the crack cocaine from your inner circle, family members? And the second part of that question was, what kind of behavior patterns were you demonstrating that she left you while she was pregnant with Junior?
Well, she left me at that time. I was just drinking alcohol, but I was an alcoholic for sure. And my behaviors was that I lost the ability to maintain employment. My behaviors as a person was not appropriate. I was a womanizer. Whoever thought I looked good, I liked. And so it went on and went on, and it was just so much that she was willing to take. And when my mom just said, I love my son, but he doesn't mean you any good. And she walked away. That was it for me. My life as I knew it, I couldn't get better. It just got worse because she was the only piece that I had of sanity in my life. And yes.
Did you ever ponder? I know you're young, but did you ever ponder the fact that she's pregnant with Junior over there? I mean, did those thoughts even creep in your mind and say, I need to do something because this is my child that she's about to have?
Well, it sounds simple for an individual on the outside to ask that question, and it seemed like that would be enough. But when you think about addiction as it is, whether it's alcohol or other mind-altering substance, it takes such a strong grip and hold on you. You still think you have it together, although everything else around you is falling apart. And so I'm knowing that, she has my son, she just had my daughter. I know that she's pregnant with my son, but at this time, I really don't see me as bad as I really was. I think that everybody else have a problem with me instead of me having a problem with my substance.
When do you wake up? When do you hit rock bottom? Let's just get straight to it. Yeah. Evidently, there was what I might call a roller coaster effect here, and I'm not a therapist, nor do I play one. But there appears to be a roller coaster effect going on. When did you hit rock bottom, and what did you do to recognize that, yeah, I do have a problem?
Well, it had gotten to a point, Brother Andre, that I knew I had a problem. I just didn't know what to do about it. I had become so accustomed to drinking and getting high. I got to the point that you hear individuals talking in the circles of recovery that I live to use and I use just to live.
Wow.
It became my lifestyle. It became what I did. It was the deal, and it happens with the average alcoholic or addict that you feel normal under the influence of alcohol or your drugs. You feel abnormal when you don't have it. And so what happened is, if we fast forward many, many years to help you understand how long I was caught up and tied up in that vicious cycle.
Right.
That I was 38 years old, May the 15th, 1998. And I had been on a run, and they call a run someone being up 3 or 4 days, not sleeping, drinking, and getting high. And I had been on that run for about 3 or 4 days, and I had went to my mother's house at that time, which was custom for me to do when I would mess up with my girlfriend at that time, and there wasn't no need in going home. I ain't got no money. I done spent everything. There's going to be a fight or a killing over there. So I go to my mom's, 38 years old. I go to my mother, and she used to look at me and shake her head, and I go downstairs to her finished basement. This particular day, she took her chair, and she looked at me, and she placed her chair at the top of the steps. And so I go on down there, and I'm paranoid. I am really freaking out. Because my goal was for mom to go back to sleep. I was going to sneak in there and take all her medicine because she's on a lot of medicine. I was going to take all her pills, and I was going to end it.
Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. You said you was going to end it. So
I was going to end it.
How long were you contemplating suicide? Because it couldn't have been something that just formatted. Usually if you're going, I'm trying to get into the mind of addiction. And I'm thinking if you're going that deep, suicide had to be almost like a repetitive cycle as well. Am I correct or what?
Well, semi, because it's not something that an individual that constantly think of. Someone will get to that final moment of despair to where they feel totally hopeless. And this particular day, when I went over there, I had made up my mind. Was out of my drugs, no money, nothing to drink, no one to call on. End up at my mother's, feeling worthless than worth. Wasn't a father to my children, and every time I thought of that, I wanted to get high more. That would stop me from feeling. And so if I don't have anything to get high, when I'm thinking about that, suicide sounded like a good idea. Wasn't a good son to my mother. Suicide seemed like a good idea. Was not a good sibling to my siblings. And so suicide, I made a decision. This is how distorted my mind was. I've been up, you have to remember, 3 or 4 days straight, no sleep. And so my mind is gone. And so I'm down there and I'm saying, this is it. I'm tired of this. I'm not doing this anymore. And in my mind, it made sense to me that everybody that I say I loved would be better off if I was not around.
Did you share any of? Let me go back for a minute. Was your mother aware of? She had to be aware of what you was going through because you was going in and out of the house, so she had to have some indication. But did she really know how bad that you were spiraling out of control?
Absolutely. Yeah, she know it. She's seen it. And the only thing that she could do is cry and be a mother.
So that chair was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, it was. And she said that she placed that chair there because she's seen something in my eyes that she never saw before. And I had no idea that she had noticed that. She couldn't have knew what I was planning on doing. But she sit there, and I kept peeping up the stairs, and I'm like, why don't she move? Why don't she just go to bed? And she wouldn't. Well, unbeknownst to me, she had made a phone call. And she called my daughter, who had just turned 19, May the 5th of 1998. And my daughter came. I heard someone come down the stairs. Now, mind you, I'm paranoid. I heard someone come down the stairs, and I look up, and I see it's my daughter, and what are you doing here? What's going on? And my daughter just crying. And I hear some more steps. It's my daughter's mother, who I hadn't been with in 15 years.
Wow.
Then I hear some more steps, and it's my daughter's mother, who I used to get drunk and would cuss out on a regular every once in a while. So they came, and my daughter was crying and asking me to get some help. And I decided that I'm going to get some help just to stop my daughter from crying. I wasn't sure if I even wanted to stay sober. And I picked up the phone, and some people think I'm lying, and it was the name of the facility that I ended up going to. And they was going to take me, and my mom gave them $20 for some gas, and I got mad because she didn't give me the money. And I told them I wasn't going to go unless they stopped and gave me a drink. And they stopped and got a drink and took me to get treatment.
Let me switch. Hold that thought for a minute. Junior, you hearing all this from your father. What's your spin on what's going on with your father? I know you guys have a beautiful relationship right now, and your father, and let me first say thank you for coming on and sharing this story. What's your take on what your father went through, and how does that change you as far as your life and you being a father and having a family? Because like he said, this is something that was, and I'm not going to use the word generational curse because I don't think things are generational curses. I think behaviors are behaviors, and we have to learn how to not do them and know that there's consequences from behaviors, good, bad, or indifferent. What's your take on your father right now?
Well, for starters, when you spoke on the word generational curses, the things that I saw or didn't see as a kid, I tried to, when it was my turn to be a father, I tried to take that as an advantage on the things that I knew my children needed or didn't need to see or whatnot. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that I didn't make mistakes too, during that journey or whatnot, but seeing his struggles, it opened up my eyes to a lot of things, and you know, I didn't understand it fully, but I saw it, I witnessed it, and it took, honestly, it took for me to fully understand what my dad went through. I didn't fully understand it until I was an adult, and we actually had a conversation, and he was able to break down what he was going through and why he responded the way that he did to life, you know, during that journey or whatever. And I could say that
Did you make some of the same mistakes that your dad did? I'm just curious because you know they always say apples don't fall far from trees, or like father, like son. You know this has always been the so-called stereotype. Did you have some of the same? Did you share an endeavor and some of the same activities and behaviors that your father did?
I did. I did.
So it became easy for you to relate to the drinking, to the depression, and suicidal things come with it.
Like Dad said, you know, when you're exposed to those type of things, and it's everybody that's around you that's doing it, it looks like something that's normal, you know. So yeah, I picked up on some of those things. If you want me to be specific, I picked up alcohol and marijuana use.
Um, what was your mother's take on your father? Because I'm pretty sure growing up you had to ask your mom, or did your mom ever share with you stories of your father?
Oh man, to give my mother credit, I never heard my mother badmouth my dad.
Okay, that's great because we hear that so much. I call it scorn woman syndrome. Um, I'm glad that happened. So she didn't speak ill of your father, but what did she say about your
Well, well, the things that I could remember, more so, it would be times where I would be looking for my father as far as guidance or whatever it was that I needed, and he might not have been available. And mom, instead of coming up with an elaborate story, she would do whatever she could to make up for it, you know, so I wouldn't think about it. That was my take on it, you know.
father? You said that you went through the same struggles that your father did. Did that also mean that you had to find treatment for yourself? Or was yours so bad that it really was an addiction, or was that something that you was able to overcome on your own?
It was definitely something I was able to overcome on my own.
Okay, let's go back to your father. You said your mother had the foresight, which parents usually do, to know that her son was crying out for help. She put the chair there to avoid that happening, and then all these people that whatever might have you did to them or whatever, they had the insight to come to you during your time of need. How did that make you feel, knowing that you just said this was a woman that you basically went off on numerous times, and these people are there to help you when you're one step away from saying, "I'm ready to check out."
Yeah, exactly. I would say it's the first glimpse of love that I saw outside of the love that my mother would continue to have. Because in my world, she's the only one who loved me, the only one who cared for me. Although it's a lot of enabling, she didn't understand about that herself. But they loved me enough to come, and later on, I found out from Nisi, my kid's mother, I found out from her that she said she came because she knew that I wasn't who that stuff made me become.
Right.
Yeah, she said, I know who you really are, not who the stuff made you become. And so they took me out there to treatment. It was on a Saturday, May the 15th of 98. And on that Monday, I get a call to come to the finance office from this young lady who was sitting here with us, Tanisha. And so I get a call to come to the finance office, and she's sitting behind the desk, and she said very nicely, Mr. Burrell, do you have $2,000 because your insurance isn't any good? Well, I knew my insurance wasn't no good. I'd been off the job, no call, no show for 2 weeks getting high, so I kind of figured that. But I had a card. That was enough to trick them to get in. I still had these addictive behaviors.
Okay.
And so when she asked me that, I just started crying. Hey, if I had the money, and she said, "Oh, just calm down, calm down. Just go back to your room." And I went back to my room, unbeknownst to me, what was taking place. And what was taking place is she had did something that she was not supposed to do that enabled me to continue in treatment, and I had no idea she did it or why. And I will let her expound on that.
Let me interrupt that. That was really good. But you no longer work for the company that you don't have to say the company's name.
Right.
You can just say what you did to change his life. Okay.
Oh, okay. So I've got to say this. Charlo gives me way too much credit. He put in all the work these past 26 years and has just made a tremendous impact, not just on the lives of his family, but countless people, and not even just in the world of addiction. So I commend him for that. And in regards to what I did to help him, I laugh when he retells the story because it was not as simple as he says. I was really trying to figure out what to do to make sure this man stayed in treatment. So initially I did tell him, calm down, we'll get this figured out.
Right.
So what I did was I initially told them, I lied. I don't usually lie, but I save them for big important things.
And this
I
was
thought
important.
This one was big enough and important. And admittedly, I don't even know why I did it. Like you said, when we met that day, that was the first time I'd ever seen him. So Charlo and I now talk about how it was me just being obedient. We are Christians, just being obedient to that little nudging of what was spoken. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know how it was going to happen, but I knew this man had to stay in treatment. So, again, stalling for some time. He said his insurance wasn't active. And I'm like, well, we're going to say you got COBRA because you got time to enroll in that, right? So we're going to buy him a little time with the COBRA. It gets confirmed that, nope, he's not COBRA eligible. And this is the part that Charlo didn't know about until years later, how it happened. I actually wrote him up for charity care. So I submitted the work so that he would not have to pay, God is faithful, anything for his treatment. So
how many cases from the time that you were there, let me rephrase this, how rampant is this? Because if you have an addiction and you're going in for treatment, 9 times out of 10, you don't have the financial resources to deal with that. So how rampant is this that people who don't have the money usually might be turned away without even getting help?
Well, here's the thing. I imagine that particular scenario, circumstance plagues a lot of people. The facility where I worked and where he sought treatment actually did a really good job at not trying to turn away folks, right? So those actions that I took were it was a little more extreme in Charlo's situation, but to some extent I would have tried to figure out a way for people to stay. They set up payment plans. And at that time, or during my tenure there were not a great deal of people that did not have any insurance, right? There may be some whose insurance may only cover X amount of days for inpatient, but most people had something to get them going, right? Mm-hmm. He had nothing. So I think that was the big difference in most of the folks that I actually had a chance to see come through my door.
What made him so different for you that you felt compassion to really help him out?
Well, here's the thing. I think, number one, he was the first person ever cried, right? I was like, this man wants treatment, right? And then again, secondly, I don't know that I was just acting on my own, right? There was that small little nudge that was like, let him stay. Do what you have have to do to make sure he gets the treatment that he needs. And looking back on it, I guess I'm particularly grateful that it played out in stages, because while we were buying him time, with the whole Cobra scheme, he was going to his treatment. He was doing everything that he was supposed to do. Mm-hmm. So then when it came to the point where this ruse is up, they pulled the curtain back, the wizard's been exposed, and I'm like, just let him stay. So
Right.
Got that paperwork done and submitted it so that he wouldn't have to pay. But in seeing the work that he was doing, the decision to help was just kind of reinforced. Like, he was serious about it. Most people go through treatment multiple times, right? It doesn't always stick. And at this point, I didn't know how many times Charlo had ever sought treatment. But every action this man took was one of true repentance. Okay. He went through the full-fledged inpatient, went to intensive outpatient, went to regular outpatient, and at the time they even had housing facilities. They rented a section of apartments at an apartment community not far from the facility. He was their first resident assistant. So this man showed up, and it wasn't like he was helping people while he was still in treatment himself, right? So he did not wait until he had 5 years of sobriety under his belt. He was encouraging.
He basically did a call to action while he was
While
there.
he was in it, absolutely. So while being active in his own recovery, he was helping others to recover. And Charlo, I've been giving you credit for this, and right now, I don't remember if you were the one who said it or not, but it came up in topic one time during a group, or sometime after a group. Folks were talking about they were ready to be in relationships, and Charlotte would tell them, get a plan. If you can keep a plan alive for 1 year, then you might be able to date. So, right, you can't do nothing. Right. All of that away. We're going to get you clean, get you some time under your belt, then get a plan. If that plan lives, then, we'll talk about it.
So Charlo, what's your game plan now? And you've been out of treatment. What are you doing now to continue to play it forward with what you're doing with your life? You've been through some struggles. Thank God that a lot of the stuff that you was planning to do did not pan out. But what are you doing now to better yourself and to tell your story to other individuals?
Okay, if I can, I like to go back just a little bit.
Go ahead.
Because when I completed the intense outpatient that Tanisha was talking about, I went to the residential recovery house. Now, and it was 2 months that took place when I completed the intense outpatient program while living in the supportive living apartments. A week out of IOP, the intense outpatient program, my outpatient counselor said, Charlo, she said, I've seen how diligently you work your program. She said, there's a position open for CD Tech. Why don't you apply? I said, okay. Then I run around and ask people, what's CD Tech? I don't even know what it is. They said you get the patients up, blood pressure, take their pulse and take them to group. I said, I don't know how to do that. And they said, oh, they'll teach you. Now, I am 1 week out of IOP. You have to be sober 6 months to be considered to work there. You have to be sober over a year for employment. And I'm 1 week. And so I put an application. I'm telling you, God ordained for me. Put an application. I get a call from a lady named Wynn Raymer. Bless her soul. I spoke at her funeral. And she was writing down, looking. She said, I seen you went to John Marshall. And she's looking over her glasses. And I said, yeah. She said, my daughters went there this year. I said, what's their name? She started telling me. I said, oh, I know them. And she's still writing. And all of a sudden, I bust out crying.
Because you was lying.
And she looked up over her glass. She said, why are you crying? I said, because I don't know your daughters. I just lying. I said, I don't know why I did it. She said, I know you didn't know your daughters. For that, I'm going to give you a try. And so I started working there February the 23rd, 1998. 2 months after I went into treatment.
Man, that's
unheard of. 2 months. And so fast forward 18 months after that, the manager at that time asked what my plans were moving forward. she said you have more to offer because as a CD Tech, when the counselors had to leave out of the group, I would go sit in and facilitate. And she said, you have more to offer. Have you ever thought about being a counselor? I said, no. She said, think about it. We'll make it happen. I just retired February the 23rd of 2023 after 24 years, 6 months, and 10 days. But who was counting?
Right.
In that time, I helped facilitate a spiritual support group at Pilgrim Missionary Baptist Church, the church I came from. I accepted my calling in 2021. So I've been a minister since 2021. I dedicated myself to this calling, and I told God if he would help me and show me that I would run and do whatever it took to help other individuals as I've been helped. And my mom, bless her soul, before she passed, she used to tell me, she said, baby, I know you're running and helping people. She said, but I'm so concerned about you because you're running so much and doing so much. And I said, Mom, I said, you know, when I was running for Satan, I ran faithfully, nonstop with no benefits. I got full benefits now. And that's the only time she said, well, she said, you finally said something that I can't argue with. And so going forward with that, how long you been married?
It'll be 12 years in August. So.
12 years in August. So about 12 and a half years ago, I get a call from Tanisha. And she said, hey, Charlo, I found me a man. She said, I'm going to get married. That's what she said. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get married. I found me a man. I said, you better invite me. She said, you're going to have to be because I want you to perform the wedding. And so someone that I sit across from, not running out my nose, I'm sure, and boo-hooing and crying, seeing enough transformation in me that she asked me to marry her to the love of her life. Now, yes, sir.
If you had to turn back the hands of time right now, what are 3 things that you most regret about your addiction and 3 things that you're blessed that came out of your addiction?
3 things that...
3 regrets and 3 things that you're blessed.
3 regrets. The first regret is to seeing the hurt and the pain that my mother endured with my addiction. Her child, who she loved dearly, loved all of us, but I'm like the Apostle Paul. I was the chiefest of sinners. I was the worst of the worst. And to see the hurt and the pain that she constantly had to endure and deal with. Secondly, would be the times that I was not in my children's life, that some of the things that they endured, they may not have endured had I been in their life as a father. Mm-hmm. Now, the only thing that my addiction did to benefit, if you could say that, every time that they were in school and their mother say, I'm going to call your daddy, come up here, they would straighten up. Because they didn't want me to They know I'm coming up here drunk.
Is that true, Junior?
They know I'm coming up here drunk and high. And they didn't want me to show up, embarrassment to them. But they know I would come.
Yeah.
You know, they know I would come. And so I think that would be it. My mother, the things that Nisi went through, not having me there, and the children. Now, the 3 benefits that had come out of it is a humility, a new passion. I used to exist, and now I'm an asset. Now I know how to live versus existing. I accepted my call to the ministry. I just celebrated my 3rd year of pastoralship. Great relationship with all my children. I mean, great. Mm-hmm. My grandchildren, we have 9 children, 23 grandchildren. So I did not mention to you the one, my kid's mother, who came and got me, took me to treatment. She took me out to dinner for Father's Day, my first year of sobriety. And we went up on Dean Road. It used to be Joe's Crab Shack was there.
Yeah.
And they brought out a big salad. And I'm looking at it, I'm still thinking, my addictive thinking, I'm not all the way there. And I asked, I said, why'd you bring me out here? I said, tell me, is my daughter pregnant? My son's in trouble. What's the deal? Because I've heard them. I've been on the phone Father's Day, and they telling me Happy Father's Day while I'm in my addiction. And I would hear my daughter say, Mama, you want Daddy? I hear you say what I want with him. And so why you bring me out here now? And she said, well, I just want you to say that I want to tell you that today you deserve to be said Happy Father's Day to. This year that I've seen this transformation, seen you become the man that I know you are, not the man that you were. Cried all over my salad. You know, you get sober, you get so emotional. I've been teary-eyed this whole thing. hope the glass has been hiding it, but you know, you get so emotional.
Yeah.
And so it was a while after that you know, because I would pick her up, take her back for the store, you know, get groceries, whatever. I was so happy. She didn't drive, don't drive now. And I was picking her up one day, and we pulled up, and she looking at me, and I'm looking at her. She started laughing, I started laughing. We were like kids. And I said, what? She said, look, I'm not dating anyone. You're not dating. If you want to try this relationship a year and a half, if it works, we get married. If not, we remain friends. I said, don't play with me. Only woman I ever loved. Been with many. Only one I loved. We got married May the 26th of 2001, and we will be celebrating our 24th year May the 26th this month.
Congratulations.
And I'll celebrate my 26th year of sobriety the 15th of this month.
You know, this is such a great and beautiful story. Before we wrap up, I'm gonna let your son talk a little bit about how he feels about you, and after sitting here listening to your journey. Junior, what are you getting from all this?
Oh, man, for starters, man, to be honest, man, I have a great deal of admiration for my father, man.
It's okay.
Yeah, my father. We always get emotional with each other, but
That's love.
no, for real though. But I have a great deal of admiration for my father because we didn't always have the best relationship growing up, and it took for us to go through some things and to fully understand each other. Excuse me, I'm sorry. But one of the things that I admire most about my dad is his sacrifice to the world. You know,
Right.
during his messed up days when he was using and ripping around in the streets, he sacrificed his family's time to take care of those things. But the life he lives now, I mean, he puts the world in front of his own needs, and I witnessed it with my own eyes. And I mean, you just don't see too many people do that coming from his background. And he mentioned that his mother, my grandmother, had said something to him before about how she was worried about him because he's always ripping and running and staying busy. And I kind of told him the same thing. From the outside looking in, I'm like, Dad, I'm watching you give your life to the world and to God, and you've accepted your calling, and I'm seeing it beat you into the ground though. And I didn't at that time. I didn't understand why I didn't understand how he could keep going, but he broke it down to me. Just as he did for you guys. He said, "I've been working so hard for the devil in overtime." No, how did you phrase it?
No benefits.
No benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
that part of what he
Benefit.
said. So, to see that change in him, it just gave me clarification that, great things can be done with the desire of wanting to, and he's proven over and over that, he can achieve things. You know.
Baby girl, what's your take on this story with him? When he first talked to me, the first thing that came out of his mouth was your name, and then the second was his relationship with his kids and his son. What's your take on this?
I think it's a beautiful story. I always remind Charlo about the redemption part because he won't say that so often. He's about the recovery and the good works that he's doing now. But so much of that encompasses the redemption, right? I think one of the reasons he is so effective in what he does, number one, he's lived it. He truly has a heart for people, right? And he wants people to do better. He's very selfless. So as Charlo Jr. said, Charlo will put himself out there for anybody who's willing to receive it and be serious about it. So that is commendable. And I got to touch on something Charlo Jr. said, how when Charlo was operating and living life as an addict. He gave so much to those people. You know, he sacrificed his family to take care of his, you know, addicted family. But even in his addiction, Charlo's heart is what it is. And I say that because Charlo has told me stories. He wasn't a stingy addict. Like, he didn't want to be high by himself. If he had something, he was sharing it with people, right? He also did not take advantage of folks, which sadly happens so often. But I joke, I was like, Charlo was a crackhead with standards, right? So he didn't trade drugs for sex with women. He was like, no, you don't have to do that. Just get high with me, you know? So even in his wrong state of mind, there was always some right in him, right? So, yeah, I think that's pretty incredible. And he presented like he didn't talk to me from the time he left the treatment facility until he found out I was gotten married. But we've been on this thing since it's 26 years, so I don't want people to think that it was just some gap, and he just decided, let me bring her into this story. So
her mom was a nurse where we worked.
Yep, she sure was. She sure was. And he mentioned the support group that you did out of Pilgrim. I can't even think of the name of it. The Lazarus Generation. I have a brother who was literally missing from the family for 25 years. He came back, and the first place I took him was Charlo's group, the Lazarus group. So that's family. I call him a preacher brother, right? That's my favorite preacher. So
before we wrap up, Charlo, I'm going to let you wrap up the show because this has definitely been a journey into your life. Thank you all for coming on and sharing that. But my last question to Charlo is pretty simple. What message would you give the individuals out there today that went through what you went through and have nowhere to turn to?
There is help available. There's plenty of places that people can reach out to now. And in fact, at my church, we have a two-story white house that I'm trying to get finances for to get it renovated. I'm going to turn it into a men's residential recovery house. So I'm trying to figure out the plan to do that. I know how to do it once it's up and running, but to get grants and things for individuals to do the construction and remodeling is the issue. There's grants for once it's up and running you can get, but I still had that same desire to help people. It's about making major lifestyle changes. It's about believing that you are somebody. It's about understanding that addicts aren't bad people trying to be good, but sick people trying to get well. The more help we have doing that, the more successful people that we will have in our society today.
My next question is, how can the viewers reach out to you and help you in your quest for what you're trying to accomplish?
Wow. Yeah, they can email me at Rev Burrell, all lowercase, R-E-V as in Victor, last name Burrell, B-U-R-R-E-L-L at att.net. So that's Rev Burrell, R-E-V as in Victor, B-U-R-R-E-L-L at att.net.
Once again, I'd like to thank you guys for coming in and sharing such a great story. Please reach out if you have resources out there that can help him on his journey, to help other individuals. There is support available. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show.